Well, having practiced the last 26 years, I've accomplished most of the professional goals that I had as a lawyer. This opportunity presented itself when Judge Wilson decided to retire. And I look at it as an opportunity to serve the community in a different way. We're living in unprecedented times, not only with the pandemic, but also the political climate is so polarized right now. People need to remember that judges are apolitical. They're not supposed to be involved in the politics of the day. So when someone comes in the courtroom, they should be rest assured that they're going somewhere where they're going to have a fair opportunity to have their disputes heard, where they're going to be treated with dignity and respect by the court, where they're not afraid to approach the judge or the attorneys. It's very important that a judge provide a courtroom that allows for that. It's more than just upholding the Constitution. Judges don't make laws. They are to follow the laws as the legislature writes them. There are two things that a judge has to ensure he's doing. Number one, follow the law. Number two, ensure that the due process rights of those accused are also protected. Judges not only protect the rights of the citizen accused, but they also have to protect the rights of all the citizens. One of the problems that I've noticed in practicing criminal defense, there is a certain segment of society that promotes this idea of victimhood or victimization, that you're either a victim or you're an oppressor. There's a danger in teaching that. The danger is when you have an excuse for your behavior, I did it because I'm a victim, it gets rid of the notion of personal responsibility. Our laws exist assuming that people are responsible for the choices that they make. If you now go off in a direction of victimhood, it's excusing criminal behavior and it creates a society of lawlessness. One of the things that I tell people with this notion of equity that keeps floating around, there's a difference between equity and equality. We should have a country in which there is equality of opportunity, not equality of outcome. And that's the difference between equity and equality. Equity believes in equality of outcome. And if everyone has the same outcome, irregardless of whether or not they've contributed or they've earned it, a merit society where you're rewarded for the work that you do and you earn, whether it's a promotion. If we start implementing this notion of equity into our hiring practices with businesses to try to establish a diverse workforce simply for the sake of having a quality of outcome, it creates and lowers our standard of excellence in this country. And I'm afraid that's the direction that we're going right now. I believe that everyone that comes before the court should be held to the same standards, to the same laws. The laws exist for all of us. It's not just for this person or this person. And that starts with personal accountability. I'm a very strong believer in instilling an understanding in my courtroom or an understanding in the judicial system that everyone is accountable for their choices. Now, how one responds to the responsibility that comes along with accountability depends on the individual. If a person that is now in the judicial system on the criminal side, they're given an opportunity not only to better themselves, but also address issues that they may have that contributed to the bad decisions that got them there in the first place. Everyone has the same opportunity to get help, to get education, to better themselves as an individual, that not only is going to make them a better person, but it's going to make them a better dad or a better mom, a better husband or a better wife. They have to have a mindset, though, that as an individual, I'm responsible for everything that I do. I like to say, and I used to, when I was teaching Sunday school, I would tell the kids, I said, look, there's only 3 things that you can control in life. You can control what you think, what you say, and what you do. Everything else is outside of your control. And if you spend your time worrying about things outside of your control, you're going to have problems in this life, because we live in a world full of chaos. But what you can do is you can decide. Every person has the ability to decide what they're going to set their mind to, what they're going to think about. They have the ability to make a choice every time they open their mouth. Everything that you say, you have control over. That means how you respond to situations, how you respond to somebody wronging you. You need to think before you talk, because once you say it, you can't get words back. And a lot of relationships are destroyed because we're not very good stewards of our words. And lastly, you can only control what you do. When I say that, I mean you're responsible for your own actions. You can't control what your neighbor does. Some of us try to do that, but you can only control what you do. You can't even control what your kids do. Hopefully you set a foundation for them, boundaries and rules, which is the same thing we try to do with our judicial system. If people would operate under the rules that we already have, we wouldn't have a need for the justice system. But because as humans, we're all given the ability to make choices, which means make bad choices, there are consequences to that. And those that make bad choices have to suffer the consequences. Now, I'm not saying that as a judge, I'm going to preach to people, but I'm going to follow Jesus' example on how we're to treat people. And that means that you can hate the thing that a person does without hating the person. You can disagree with what the person does without disagreeing with the person. If you treat people with respect, respect will be returned. Now, I'm not naive enough to believe that everyone that comes before the court is going to be amenable to tough love or to the idea that we're there for them and to help them. I've seen it, and I've been in this practice too long. People sometimes just won't take advice, even when it's the best advice they're ever going to hear. Sometimes people have to learn the hard way. But I think that as a judge, you can still serve in humility and with a servant heart and be effective in changing the lives of those that come before you. I think that it's important that if you're going to be an elected official, you get out and you knock on doors and find out what is on the mind of the people that you're going to be serving. The constituents right now in the pandemic, they're afraid of a lot of things. Our economy is not doing well right now. Crime is on the rise. There is an influx, especially into Texas, from people coming from all other states that are experiencing chaos and lawlessness. And people are here in our neighborhoods. They're afraid that they're bringing the chaos with them. And I want to assure you that what I've learned from talking to people that are coming from Washington State and California and New York, there's a reason they're coming here, because they identify with the values that we have as Texans. They identify with the notion of law and order. They identify with the idea that says no to victimology and says yes to rule of law. They're coming here because their values are more in line with the values of Texans than Californians or people that live in Washington or on the East Coast. And we're getting growth that is exponential in this county. Look, the people that are moving here, along with the people that are already here, they want conservative values. They want elected officials that are standing up for what they believe in. And on a very basic level, not talking about identity politics, just the rule of law, they want to live in a state, in a community that has rules that are followed and laws that are enforced. We back the police here. We back our prosecutors here. They have a very difficult job, and if we don't support them and let them know that we have their back, then the service they provide is diminished. They need to know that the citizens support them and that our laws will be enforced and that our rights as citizens are protected by the courts.
Elect Joel Petrazio for Judge of Collin County Court at Law Number 5. Wisdom, compassion, fairness.